We were the first non-Californians to get into their show. They were really welcoming. Dan Harmon bought us beers for hours.
It's really interesting to me how the internet has made making your own game such a viable thing. I mean, you guys, have you played every game by now, or? What about a beer and board games coffee table book where you're playing off the idea of a sommelier and you're pairing certain beers with certain games?
Yeah,
Done.
That is a good idea.
We gotta go. I think the hardest thing to do online is to show people that they should want to hang out with you. And that's what you guys have done for so many years now in the beer and board game community. So much of the fun we have while we're watching is just because a movie is 40 years old. And so you see those little idiosyncrasies and kind of dated, archaic things. That's good fodder for comedy. You don't get that so much in a movie that's a year old.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU's Day. That's Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, live on Discord. We are always here. We cannot leave. We are chained to these chairs and these microphones. I'm Kevin Lieber, and with me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
Yeah, and we get to start out with one of those rare bits of good news in a cruel and uninviting world. The Kino Corner, who we talked to a long time ago, and who I met, when I met Kino, he must have had like 200-some, 300-some subs on YouTube. I won't go higher than 500. Anyway, he hit 50,000. His videos have been banging really hard lately, and people are getting into the format that he's doing, and just, it's paying off. All the work is paying off, and, we wish him the best on the way to 100, which has to be pretty soon. And also a quick shout to Andre, APM from the Discord. Everybody there knows him. They know that Andre, who we've talked about him on the show, like literally 100 episodes ago, because he was meant to go study art in Japan. And he's an animation guy and an illustrator and all of that. And COVID ruined that plan. Well, he's finally going from Brazil to Japan. Today, tomorrow, one of these days is the flight. It's finally happening again, and we're thrilled to see somebody just go on that path and finally make it. So that's good stuff. But we have a good pair tonight, and then we have a couple guests coming up soon, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have next week we have Tirzu, so we can find out who the OP animal is in the animal kingdom. And after that, we have AEW Wrestling's Evil Uno, our first professional wrestler coming on the Create Unknown and into the Create Unknown. That will be really, really exciting. Hopefully the first of many. But without further ado, further R2D2, let's get to learning a little bit about our guests tonight.
Well, if we made a short list of creators who were making internet videos way before YouTube was a thing. BlameSocietyFilms is on that list, and the most culture-minded devotees of public access television in Wisconsin remember Aaron Yonda making the Sploo Urtaf show all the way back in 1993. After meeting Matt Sloan through the improv comedy group Comedy Sports with a Z, the two began creating videos for the short film festival and pre-YouTube video site Channel 101. Their dangerous collaborations brought us absurdist shows like Super Shooter, McCourt's in Session, Fun Rangers, and their massive breakout, Chad Vader, Day Shift Manager. For over 4 seasons, Darth Vader's misfit brother Chad ruled the day shift of Empire Market, with Aaron donning the classic suit and Matt providing such a spot-on Vader impression that he literally went on to voice act Darth Vader for a decade's worth of Star Wars video games. George Lucas himself selected Chad Vader as the best Star Wars fan film of 2007. But ballooning production costs and a tightening of the market that is free labor and favors from friends meant the show went the way of Alderaan, and the boys have spent the last 10 years building an exceptionally loyal and tight-knit community of superfans who just love watching them drink beer, play board games, and crack jokes alongside a rotating cast of very funny friends, including one who hopefully shows up to this recording, the insightful and wise Baby Cookie. Separately, Matt tackles his bucket list of backlog of movies on the long-running show Welcome to the Basement, and Aaron games on Game Society Pimps and creates absolutely epic Hot Wheels pandemonium on his channel Junkyard Joust, which has even employed some of the tiny babies from the Create Unknown orphanage. We followed along with Matt and Aaron for so many years because they're just endlessly creative people. So to both of you, if a dump truck full of money rolls up to fund the ultimate project, the thing you've never been able to do, what is that project?
Well, you're starting with a small question. That's for sure.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. It seems like we should have an answer for this, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess if there was a boatload of money, we could just make another episode of Celebrity Bric-a-Brac Theater for a couple $100 and then just keep the rest.
With
Fabergé
eggs.
Yeah, we could buy some really expensive inlay gold bric-a-brac
the
to
most,
really shine.
The most expensive bric-a-brac the world has ever known. Definitely.
That would be cool.
You spend the whole budget on just one Liberace Fabergé egg. The most ostentatious bric-a-brac imaginable.
We don't even mention it at all. We just have it in the background of the shot, and that's
right.
that.
It's not a part of the story at all. It's just there.
Nope.
It's just a prop.
The ultimate Easter egg.
Yeah. Literal Easter egg.
Literal, figurative. So there's no screenplay kind of collecting dust that you're just dying to make or anything like that.
There's
I've always
lots of
that.
screenplays collecting dust. There's lots of those.
Yeah, but do they deserve to be made? That's unclear.
Probably not.
Well, I've always wondered that with you guys because, I've followed you guys forever, online and in person in some cases. Mm-hmm. When, I met you guys in New York City a million years ago, which I don't even know why I was there or why I think you guys were there for meetings, perhaps.
For beatings? Did you say beatings?
Yeah. You were getting your monthly beatings.
We were not beaten in New York. New York did not beat us. We were there for the New York.
We've seen Death Wish. We know what that place is like. When Midwesterners visit for the first time, they have to be inducted with the beatings.
Jeff Goldblum kicked our ass, man. We were there for the New York Television Festival. That's why we were in New York when we met little Kevin.
Right. I'm still little, unfortunately. Haven't gotten any bigger. Yeah. No, but people don't realize that I didn't beg, but I did ask basically if you needed, a third wheel named Kevin in Blame Society Films, and you guys very graciously were pretty much like, yeah, it might not be in your best interest to kind of uproot and move to Madison, Wisconsin.
And look where you are now, Kevin. Look where you are now.
You're welcome. Our mistake. That was our mistake.
But there was this time where one of the reasons I really wanted to have you guys on the show is because there is this kind of lost moment of the pre-YouTube, really, really early YouTube days that in some ways you had to be there to kind of remember. And the type of content that you guys were creating and some other people, that were just equally talented doing stuff for Channel 101. It was so unique and it seems so new. And I know Aaron, you had experience with public access TV, and I've mentioned my short-lived and terribly received similar experiences with public access TV. But being able to make stuff for the internet was just such an eye-opening experience. So I would love to hear, from both of you kind of about what it was like in those early days, creating the stuff for Channel 101 and working alongside the type of talent that was also creating stuff at that time for those, short film festivals.
The people at Channel 101 were Los Angeles based. They were all LA filmmakers and comedians and things like that. So we were the first non-Californians to get into their show. And they weren't insular at all. They were really welcoming. They were super nice to us. Dan Harmon bought us beers like for hours.
Hey.
That was really fun. And it was just really a great experience to not only be accepted by such a group of such talented people, but to have them be so nice to us. Like we really felt welcome the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. That was really neat. And that was, that was sort of when we started to think like, okay, well, this is a good sign that we should, definitely keep doing this. I mean, actually, the first good sign was the New York Television Festival, because we basically got an agent at that point who saw our pilot and was like, okay, I want to work with you guys. And, we weren't really sure if that was going to lead anywhere. And then, of course, Chad Vader took off, and that kind of catapulted us into a career making content on the internet, which is, one of the most freeing experiences, not just because we were able to do it as a job and quit our day jobs, but because we were able to make exactly what we wanted to make in pretty much every way.
Yeah, there was no standards as to what internet content was supposed to look like or what it was supposed to be. And so we got to kind of create those.
Mm-hmm.
And even as the advertisers encroached upon, people's ability to make stuff on YouTube, and they've tightened it up a lot over the years. And the competition, of course, is much more fierce because everybody's doing it now. But, back then it was pretty much, you could just do anything. And you can still basically pretty much do anything, but probably not as many people are going to see it.
Yeah. I mean, when you say you can do anything, it's not like you guys were making like lewd or like, we're not talking like hair. What's the hair cake with iDubbbz, and you weren't like vomiting into each other's mouths, but at the same time,
we should have been.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the mistake.
That's the point. Like we could have been doing all that.
Yeah. Are we talking about regrets now? Is that what we've moved into? Regrets?
Yeah. No, but the freedom element really did, I think, come from your senses of humor not being, you weren't told like that's not funny. That when you were creating something like Super Shooter, and you're like, I twist my ankle. All of that stuff I still have stuck in my head all these years later because it was just so funny to me.
A form of vomiting that we did was the word vomiting, rolfing.
Yeah.
And that was just something, what that is for anybody who doesn't know is we just start saying a word like bags, like sometimes it doesn't even make sense. You just like I failed there, but you try to turn it into a word or a sentence or whatever. You just start saying a syllable and you don't know what your brain's going to say and try to trick yourself. And we did a lot of that on our channel back then. I guess it was not really something that a lot of people knew about, which we never really thought about, having sort of done it a lot at the improv. And I remember when we actually interviewed with Bob Odenkirk way back in the day about him and his wife being our managers. And he talked about rolfing. He mentioned how it was just something, completely like it's comedy, not from making fun of anyone. It's just comedy from just sort of,
ridiculousness.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way,
rolfing would do really well on TikTok. Doesn't that seem like the perfect fit for that platform? I would sit there and endlessly like watch takes of people just rolfing on different words and syllables.
Yeah, that's true. It would be good on there.
Yeah.
Wasn't Fun Rangers a series that you made or a show that you made specifically to highlight rolfing? I thought you guys made that up. I didn't know that was just kind of like a thing that you did locally, and you didn't know other people didn't do it. Like
our friend Brad Knight sort of stakes claim to having basically invented modern rolfing. We can't verify the truth of that, but we assume
we can't confirm or deny that fact.
Okay.
But then we were like, well, what can we do with rolfing that's more than just rolfing? So then we, basically created a character that Matt played, whose name was Cody, who only rolfed things. And it was just, it's like, how ridiculous can we possibly be?
Yeah.
So if people want to get a glimpse of that, or maybe have like a better idea of what this is, I think it's in Fun Rangers episode 1, where you're trying to place an order at a restaurant or at a diner. And so the idea is with rolfing is that you start saying kind of sounds, and then you have to turn that into a word. So you're trying to order food and you're doing it while Rolfing, and you end up saying like, I'll have the bone turkey meat wagon sandwich.
Well, there you go. Not bad. That's not bad.
And it is very, very, very funny. But when was the last time you guys Rolf? Do you still bring that back at all during Beard and Board Games?
We do it all the time on Beer and Board Games. Yeah, it's something we mostly do for the live audience because we do a live stream as well as a recorded episode. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Rolfing is alive and well.
Put down your can of Hyper Hydro Monster and your Crimson Berry White Claw. It's time to rethink the beverages in your life. We drink a tremendous amount of tea, working on videos, recording the podcast, but we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. They've got a gunpowder green tea called Space Cowboy. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know why Kevin likes it. And I used to chew gunpowder green tea leaves when I played baseball in the 90s. I love the stuff. Dragonwell Z, Samurai Chai Plu, black teas, herbals. The Dragon's Treasure describes itself as a haven for anime and tea lovers for a reason. They've even got a tea called JUUUULLLIANNN. It's got apple bits and cocoa nibs. It's crazy. I bought the 60 tea sampler pack as soon as I could. I wanted to try everything. It's that good. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using the code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description. Look, find me another place that sells Russian caravan tea with a name like, "And then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked." You can't. TheDragon'sTreasure.com, 10% off when you enter the code CREATE at checkout. The link's in the description below. Get brewing, Space Cowboys.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys about your the way that you do that, the way that you integrate kind of like the live stream and the way that you're monetizing it. I know that you were selling tickets at one point. I didn't know whether you were still doing that, but it's really interesting to me because I don't really know of other people who have kind of done things the way that you guys have done them with Beard and Board Games, I think in particular. So can you talk a little bit about the process of how you make that show and how you support the show?
Yeah, well, basically, our patrons, are the main way that we support the show. And if they're at a specific level, they get to watch us record the show. They're kind of our live audience. And during the show, our live audience can do things to spice the show up. For example, they can get a Rolfing or a surprise. We'll just do something weird. Or they can buy us shots
and shout outs,
toasts, whatever. So they can get involved that way. And those live streams of us making the shows, going all the way back to like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
2013, 2014, something like that.
Yeah, those all exist that for anyone to go watch, either on the live.beerandboard.com where they can go through and choose an episode, or there's a pretty big backlog on the Beer and Board Games Patreon too. Mm-hmm. So those are several of the ways. Then we also occasionally get a game sponsorship, and that pretty much
we often get game sponsorships. We do a lot of we have a lot of independent game designers and companies that want us to play their game on our show. So that kind of sponsorship is very common.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me how big that genre is and has gotten, just the board game thing and making your own board games. And like whenever I think of actually successful Kickstarters, it's like a game. Oh, yeah. It's like a card game, like the Cyanide and Happiness guys have done that, I think, a couple of times now, or like Exploding Kittens, I think was one. It's really interesting to me how the internet has kind of made making your own game such a viable and successful thing. I mean, you guys, have you played every game by now, or are you cycling through them, or are there always new ones cropping up?
There's always new ones.
Yeah, people always, used to ask us that. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are going to play all the games," and we're like, "Well, not anymore, because now like 1,000 new games get made every year. So we might play,
1,000? Like actually?
Oh yeah, no,
Probably,
I'm
yeah.
sure that's the bare minimum. Yeah, at least.
Wow.
The market is massively saturated.
Wow.
There's pretty much games for everything. But yeah, we try to play
what's
about
the
50 of them a year.
ideal? What's the pitch that comes in? Like, we've got this new game. What makes a game perfect for you guys to have on the show?
A game that's not complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although we've played complicated board games and had fun with them. We played a Dark Souls board game, which was fairly complicated, as you can imagine. And we only got through about a turn and a half, but we had fun.
Yeah, and oftentimes on those complicated games, like real intense strategy games and things like that, we'll actually have the creator of the game on the show kind of talking us through it. So that's really an ideal situation when we can get it. But games that are simple, games that allow for creativity, like that's a perfect game for our show, where we can do use improv skills and things like that.
We've done a lot of drinking games, and everybody sort of says, well, drinking games, that's perfect for beer and board games. But ultimately, a lot of drinking games have similar mechanics. And unless your drinking game is very, very, different, I think we've probably played something like it on the show. So I don't think we're playing as many drinking games as we used to, just because
every game we play,
there's only so many things you can do.
Every game we play is a drinking game, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the cliche drinking game mechanic though that they all kind of follow?
It's just the sort of if somebody does something, it triggers something, you have to drink. If somebody says something, you have to drink. If somebody if you draw a card, you have to what's the classic one? You have to hold your elbows together or something. There's there's all these classic drinking game mechanisms. There's only so many things you can do sitting around a table playing a drinking game.
Yeah, and also people will take these old frat party games and make them into a board game, like beer pong the game. It's just a box with a cup and a ping pong ball in it, and you're paying $19 for it or whatever. But
to be fair, though, hazing the game would be worth watching.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Until the cops show up.
So there's a level of complexity that's probably optimal for these games. Is there an optimal level of inebriation to accompany
there's a bell curve to it. Okay. When you're ascending the one end of the bell curve, and you're sort of 3/4 of the way to the top, that's kind of the optimal thing. When you get to the top of the bell curve, it's okay. And when you start sliding down the other part of the bell curve, things fall apart pretty quickly.
It's a steep one, huh?
Although it divides our audience sometimes as to which part they like to see the most. A lot of times when we have really, gotten soused on the show, we get a lot of comments where people are just like, oh my God, it really went off the rails. Oh, I love that. And other people are like, you guys stopped playing the game. Why did you stop playing the game?
Yeah.
Well, we were really drunk, so.
Excuse me. You skipped a turn. It's I'm loaded, pal.
Exactly.
Well, this is the collaboration that never happened. V-Souse is the collaboration between the two channels.
V-Souse.
To have
V-Souse.
What was it? Beer and math together, and see where that winds up.
That'd be a short game.
That would have a bell curve.
Beer and puzzles would be difficult.
Beer and paradoxes. That would actually be really funny to have two drunk people debating, some of the more philosophical logic paradoxes. Drunk. That would be pretty good.
That could get interesting.
Are there escape rooms where you drink along the way? It seems like that there may be a market there.
There should be.
Like the beer garden / escape room.
Yeah.
My guess is the liability would probably be a bit. You'd have to sign something before you go in the escape room that says if you injure yourself or behead yourself, it's not our fault.
It'd be like a bar with an escape room license, I guess, if there is such a thing.
The timer. So, if you're in there for an hour and that's it, and there's a timer, there's a countdown, you only have this much money or this much time to solve the thing. No. You do like a shot every 8 minutes. And this incentivizes you to solve it as fast as possible before you become incapacitated. That's the real timer.
I think we just cracked our next business.
Yeah, you're definitely onto something.
I do.
Either that or maybe a new hazing ritual. I think that would make a great. I think that would make a great hazing ritual. Actually,
we'll just combine it all.
Yeah.
What about?
Okay, so I finally thought of an answer to your question about somebody shows up with a boatload of cash. What would you make?
Oh, great!
I know what it is. It's an animated show that we wanted to make called Space Bear.
Oh yeah, Space Bear.
Matt, can you explain the conceit?
Space Bear is about a bear in space. It's a
That's
short
good.
elevator pitch. It's
Greenlit.
like
I'm with you so far.
from floor 1 to floor 2. That's all we need for the pitch. Space Bear's he's a talking bear, and they're on a space station, I think.
Yeah,
and,
it's like his office basically. It's sort of it's like an office comedy with
it's a workplace comedy in space with a bear,
and he
Is
faces a lot
Soviet
of
bear.
Say again?
No.
Oh, is it a Soviet bear?
It is not a Soviet bear. No,
he's not from Earth. He's from somewhere else, and he faces a lot of resistance in the workplace because people are like, they're kind of resistant to working with a bear. They're not sure about it. I think working with animals in the workplace is kind of a new thing at this point, and so he faces a lot of that's sort of like the crux of like what Space Bear has to deal with in his workplace, as well as stop space crises and things of that nature.
Yeah,
I was going to ask what the job was like. Do you know what the workplace itself is like?
I'm not sure it was ever clear what they actually do. I don't remember what their tasks were.
Everyone else is human,
like
though.
Dilbert. I don't think we know what Dilbert's company does, do we?
No, I don't think so.
No,
not exactly.
But we had an animatic made up, and I think it was all people otherwise, but I'm sure there would have been more animals introduced. But and the animatic looked really cool. It was made by Mike Julian, who works with Justin on Rick and Morty.
Oh, Mike does work on that show?
I believe he still works on it.
Oh, that's cool.
What are some of the bear foibles that would occur, like accidentally crushing a copy machine with his hulking bear strength?
Yeah, mostly like paw related problems. Because he's got giant claws on his hands. So that's kind of the focus of episode 1, mainly just the paw issue.
Right.
There was also the issue of him, like not covering up his balls because
his genitalia, right?
He's a bear, so why would he cover up his genitalia? And so then that's like that's a definite HR problem.
Yeah, it's like a culture clash kind of thing going on.
Why would you hire somebody who's half asleep from like November to April? Isn't that a problem?
Oh, that's another. See, you guys you're coming up with good ideas here for Space Bear.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. You'd have
we're staff writers now. Sorry.
You'd go into cryo. Yeah, you guys. Yeah. All right. Definitely.
Yeah. You're hired.
I'm also thinking that Space Bear is going to eat somebody's leftovers, their lunch that they brought in the communal refrigerator, even though they wrote their name on it.
Yeah,
Space Bear.
It's their fault because their lunch was a dead seal. What do you expect him to do?
Yes, common astronaut food. Dead seal. Space seal.
Somebody else would eat the food knowing that he would get blamed. And so he would get framed for eating the food. And that would be the crux of that episode. That would be the A plot.
That's dastardly.
Proving his innocence.
What kind of bear, by the way, NRM is asking us in the episode chat, what kind of bear is Space Bear?
Wasn't he was a polar bear, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't think so.
I thought he had white fur.
I think he was. Oh, I thought he had brown fur. I don't think it's been determined. I think he's a space bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
New
he's from,
species.
like a different solar system or something. This is far in the future. So probably not Earth related, I'm thinking.
I don't know. I think it was a polar bear. I'm sticking by it.
Polar bear. Man, that makes me rethink the entire show.
Yeah.
Adapting to the cold in space.
Yeah. Well, we could do all these like ice-based jokes now.
Oh, yeah. He sleeps on a big bed of ice in his quarters.
And the air conditioning goes out, it melts, it floods the office. That's a huge problem.
Sure. Yeah.
Not for him. He likes it.
Just splashes around in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our first writers meeting is going to be on Monday. I hope you guys can make it. We've got 13 scripts to bang out. So, we'll have to hit the ground running.
Did you guys ever see that interview with Larry David where he was reacting to Seinfeld getting picked up, and he had written, the first, I think it was only 4 episodes, and it was picked up, and all of a sudden he had to write, I think, 12 more, and he was just absolutely distraught over the sense that he had to write. He's like, I got to write 12 more of these things. And Larry David's personality, I just always thought that was so fun. Meanwhile, it goes on to be, literally one of the most popular and successful shows of all time.
Biggest sitcom of all time, right?
Yeah.
That comes up with book proposals where people are really in a hurry to get an idea out there, and it might be very good, and they do the initial chapters and send it out, and then like an agent or somebody will say, yeah, we want to hear more, send it over. Well, you're going to have to write the rest of the book. That's the first thing that somebody is going to ask to see if they actually give a shit about your idea. So you might as well write the thing before you send it out. So there's something at least to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps, and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown, links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
Have you guys thought about books before?
We had a book proposal that we shopped around probably 12 years ago, maybe.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I don't even remember what it was called. It was just like the Blame Society Guide to the Internet or something like that. Just a comedy book. We had a couple of meetings, and we had a proposal written out and some sample things, and yeah, so we gave that a shot.
But what about a beer and board games coffee table book where you're kind of playing off the idea of like a sommelier and you're pairing certain beers with certain games? I don't know if that would work.
That's interesting.
I'm just pitching you on an idea.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Done.
That is a good idea.
We gotta go.
It makes sense though that some games would be like sipping games and other games would be cheap beer slamming games. Like there must be categories of pairing like this. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm trying to think of what kind of beer you'd drink if you were playing Monopoly.
Ooh.
Probably something really that makes you really angry.
The tears of the poor.
Maybe like Bud Light. That would make me angry. I would get angry if I was
Bud
drinking
Light
that.
makes you angry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I had to drink it, I would be very unhappy. Just like if I was playing Monopoly.
What game fits best with White Claw?
Oh,
What's a White Claw style game?
Probably that Trailer Park Boys board game. Something like that.
Oh, I didn't know there was one.
Oh yeah, they have multiple games actually.
And
Wow.
we played another Trailer Park game. What was that other? It was called Trailer Park what? Something?
Yeah, I can't remember, but you were like moving from trailer to trailer, like trying to.
You're building trailers and avoiding tornadoes and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like Mousetrap in a trailer park. What are the Trailer Park Boys board games any good?
From what I remember,
the one we played was fun. Well, unfortunately, I don't think we had really watched the show. So we sort of played it too early because shortly after that, I started checking out the show. And then since then, I've watched like the entire series. Mm-hmm. So I'd be much better equipped to play the Trailer Park Boys game today than I was back then.
You know, Conky kind of has Baby Cookie vibes.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah. That's a good call. Yeah.
Just connected those dots. That's my favorite episode of Trailer Park Boys is that Conky. I had my face freaking hurt at that episode, just laughing the whole. If anybody hasn't seen that, I don't know what season it is. It doesn't matter. Just look up Trailer Park Boys Conky and see Matt's losing it just thinking about it.
Yeah. It's really funny.
It's so good.
I like the one where they befriend a puma.
Yes. Oh, definitely in the top three. Yeah. That arguably could be number one. I totally would accept that as a number one episode. Also so freaking funny.
Yeah.
And RIP to a couple of their cast members have died in the past few years. Leahy obviously passed away.
Philadelphia Collins did too.
I couldn't think of his name. Phil Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The huge gut. that man's gut was just
him
legendary.
Burping dust when it gets hit with beer bottles is one of the funniest scenes I have ever watched.
Yeah, God.
I saw Leahy live here in Madison.
Oh, wow.
Before he passed away. It was like a Mr. Leahy and Randy stage show.
Oh, right. Yes. I remember following their Facebook page years ago, and they were touring on that show and posting about it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a fun show. It was kind of like watching an episode of Beer and Board Games, actually, where you're not sure what the structure is. You're not sure, like, what is this show? And it was pretty chaotic stuff.
I years ago went to see Trailer Park Boys live. Unfortunately, Leahy was not there. It was just the main trio. I don't think Randy was there either. I think it was just, Bubbles, Ricky, and Julian. And it was terrible. Terrible. Not because the show was bad. The show was hysterical. But I've been to all kinds of events, like you name it, like stand-up comedy, heavy metal shows, whatever. I've been to it. I have never, ever, and hope never to go again to a worse audience than the Trailer Park Boys audience, who were all plastered drunk, like the worst drunk. Like imagine your good buddy, the drunkest he's ever been, and now multiply that guy like 120 times, and that was the whole audience. I swear to you, there was a guy in my ear right behind me just screaming, "Julian, Julian, Julian," the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. Horrible experience.
Yeah, I apologize for that, Kevin.
I didn't want to put you on blast.
It's okay.
But
it's all right.
I'm glad that you admitted
I was, I wasn't actually drunk at all. I just,
he does that in normal life. He'll just start doing that.
Doesn't matter where I am.
Must be tough to edit out of your shows.
Yeah, big time.
Julian.
See, he's doing it.
Julian.
He's doing it right now. He can't help it. He doesn't even know he's doing it. He's blacking out right now.
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, see?
Develop a preset in Final Cut just to automatically delete Aaron's Julian's.
That's part of the room tone that you record at the beginning.
Yeah, find all the wavelengths that match Julian.
What about when it comes to sponsorships, the beer side of the equation? Have beer companies approach you? I mean, there's a billion microbreweries now.
We really haven't. I mean, we haven't had any official beer sponsors. We've had donated beer from a couple places around Madison. I don't think we had any sponsors, did we, Matt?
The Capitol Brewery gave us a lot of beer and a lot of swag. So that was sort of a sponsorship. Also, who made the baby cookie beer? Mobcraft?
Mobcraft.
Yeah, they made a custom beer for us that they sold. But that wasn't, this is all well and good, but we're really looking for cold, hard cash. Like that's the ideal form of sponsorship for beer and board games.
The beer, the baby cookie beer was sort of a chocolatey, sort of dark beer, but also really spicy.
Yeah, it was
spicy
like
to the point where it's almost, it was hard to drink.
Like, was it heat spicy or like tons of nutmeg or something?
Heat spicy.
Like chili pepper spicy.
Wow.
Yeah. Hank Green loved it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Some people really liked it. It was it was like cookie. Either you love her or you're not into it.
Yeah.
Some people are not into baby cookie. That rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah. I don't get it either.
Did Cookie ever figure out how to deal with the backbiting?
I think it's an everyday struggle for her. Yeah.
Because it's a hard problem to tackle. It's so pervasive.
Yeah.
Everybody deals with backbiting and just constantly.
It's everywhere. Snitching. She hates snitching. she hates fronting. That really gets her goat.
Yeah.
Trifling. Oh, she doesn't like trifling.
I forgot about
Well, one of the things that's so weird about making things on the internet is that you just don't know what impact the things that you're creating have on people who you'll never meet and you'll probably never hear from. And I must say, this is a rare instance in which you guys are able to at least get a glimmer of the impact that you've had on Matthew Tabor's life because of Baby Cookie, because you don't realize that he finds that as funny as just about anything that has ever made him laugh.
Yeah, I've loaded up your videos in the past and just scrubbed to the cookie parts. And that's it. Then a fat X click right after that because there's nothing else that interests me. It's just Cookie.
It is funny though how that works. And every now and then, once in a blue moon, I'll get a message or like a tweet from somebody who has like recreated, one of the math games or something, and they, played it with their kid or something. And that's really cool, but it is extremely, extremely rare. So the rest of the time you just kind of have to imagine that some people like this stuff. And that's kind of all you can do with it is just use your imagination and hope that someone got something out of the thing that you made. It's weird how that works.
Yeah, it's not like stand-up comedy where you're getting that immediate response. It's just sort of like, I hope people were laughing at this. A lot of times they'll say that they laughed at it, but then a lot of times they'll tell you like, oh man, I use, beer and board games supercuts of full seasons to sleep to. They're really great. I just turn them on before I go to bed and then let them play all night. I can only imagine the types of dreams that they're having when they are hearing us like screaming at each other all night long. But there's also a guy told me about, we play a game called 7 Days to Die. It's a zombie apocalypse game on Game Society Pimps. And a guy told me he's a big fan of that show and he'll watch all the episodes. And he was having a problem with his dog. His dog was whining and barking and stuff when he would leave, and his neighbors were complaining about it. One time he turned on the 7 Days to Die series before he left and, went to do whatever he was doing. Apparently the dog was completely silent the entire time. Wow. So that series has been used as a way to pacify worried dogs. Because
So sleep and stunned silence are what people get out of our shows.
Also positive results of our comedy.
Yes.
I was thinking about it in the last I don't know, a couple weeks, whenever Kevin settled on a date with you guys, I started thinking about this. And I think the hardest thing to do online is to show people that they should want to hang out with you, to make people feel like, I want to just hang out with this person. It's actually not that hard to be funny. I mean, it is, but anybody can be funny. Anything can be funny. You can be smart about things. Everything else is not impossible to do. But putting yourself on and then having a bunch of people just plain want to hang out with you is like the ultimate in difficulty. And that's what you guys have done for so many years now with the beer and board game community. That's a remarkable thing. So you talk about it being like soothing to pets. That made me think like even pets want to just hang out in this room, and that's very much like what the people have done.
Yeah, I think those are the best compliments that we get when people say like, you guys feel like you're my friends, or you guys do the same stuff that me and my friends do. And so that's really like the most gratifying to sort of transcend that kind of line. It's something that's really gratifying.
Yeah, you're right, because it's not editing tricks. It's not like cool effects. It's
you
not
can't fake it.
Yeah,
in any way.
Yeah.
Like full disclosure, there are a bunch of creators of YouTubers who won't even do podcasts because they are afraid of the way that they would come across without all of kind of the writing and the editing and all the stuff that they've crafted for their online persona.
Right.
And to strip that away and just come on something like this podcast and just have to have a conversation is terrifing to them, and they literally won't do it. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the number two reason we don't book certain people. Number one being just the difficulty of scheduling and people not having time. And that's the most common by far. But I bet number two is that just general discomfort with being on a live show that's going to ask them some questions they really have to think about.
Give us names. Who are these people? Give us some names.
We've talked about this. What's the ultimate burn the bridge on the way out thing? And I think when something happens like that for Kevin, it's gonna be like a 4-hour blowout with just obliterating the EDU community on YouTube.
Yes. Mask
Everybody
off.
goes under the bus.
Yeah. Lieber after dark. Now the one person
I remember trying to pitch you an idea for like Vsauce Raw, jokingly back in the day, but it was like all these topics that none of the 3 Vsauce channels could cover because they're too awful.
Yeah.
You didn't take that suggestion.
Not happening. Not happening until the wheels have fallen off.
Say.
Yeah. Yeah. Until there's no wheels. I'm just on cinder blocks and I'm hanging out with Bubbles, Julian and Ricky.
Julian
and Conky.
Julian. That's when that happens. No, the person we always throw under the bus is Ricky Berwick. Because he doesn't care, but he won't come on the podcast.
Yeah, just doesn't want to.
No, just doesn't want to do it.
Which is fine because I don't want to go to Canada. So I understand.
Fair enough.
Just that like intrinsic revulsion that he feels when we ask him about podcasts.
Yeah, it's fair enough. We all have our thing. We all have our hangups. But it's not just beer and board games. Welcome to the Basement is a very similar vibe. With you're just hanging out in the basement. It's very comforting. It's very warm. You're watching kind of these old movies that you've never seen before. You discuss them and you have your own kind of community that supports that show, and you do the unboxings, and you kind of, both of you guys in your own ways, separately and together, are excellent at kind of cultivating this thing that we're talking about, where there's one thing where you can create content that's really funny and on a show, which you've done with wild success, but then also in the last several years do this more community driven content creation thing, which is very interesting to me, and I find it very unique. We do it to some extent here with this podcast, but to do it with shows, I think is really cool.
Yeah, actually, in a lot of ways, like, I remember I saw one of these things on Facebook a while back, and it was describe your job in a way that doesn't make any sense or is like really simple or something like that. And so I just wrote, hang out with my friends, because in a lot of ways, like, that is a big part of my job. Like when I'm streaming or doing board games or whatever, it's just, hanging out and with friends and doing fun stuff. I mean, it's like, Kids in the Hall were saying about their new season. They were saying like it was always just been about us trying to make each other laugh, and so that's exactly what they did with the new season. And they're just being, they're just having fun, and I assume that they're probably more or less friends, and that's kind of their job. And they also happen to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just started watching that, and if anybody hasn't seen it on Amazon, you will see penises very early on. I'll just say that, like right off the bat, it's like Kids in the Hall dongs.
Dongs really, in the hall. That's
good. God, dongs in the hall. Not kids anymore.
Yeah, no, they're not. And you see them in all their glory. And I feel like that was definitely intentional, where they're like, you know what? Let's just let everybody know what they're getting into with this reboot, which is full frontal nudity.
Yeah. We're all 60 now, and here's what we look like completely. But I don't know, it was encouraging seeing them put out, some pretty funny stuff, and, being that age, I'm just like, oh man, that's cool. Maybe by the time I get to 60, I'll also be that funny. Instead of,
I don't think it goes away. Yeah.
The conventional wisdom of like, yeah, you eventually you aren't funny anymore. It seems like maybe that's not the case.
Relevancy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's a point at which, most people like just stop being able to be funny in content?
I think it's when people just stop changing. That sort of makes it so that you don't really have anything new to say. And so, it just kind of stops any sort of natural evolution. So.
Yeah, it's like the people who get older and sort of just, shut down and are just sort of like, okay, I'm going to close up all the windows, nail them shut and just hang out in my house for the rest of my life.
That sounds ideal young, though. We've talked about building walls and moats. I think like my dream is a stone wall and Kevin's is like a 30-foot moat.
With a drawbridge. Okay. With a drawbridge. Right. Be charitable to my dream. I mean, it's up most of the time, but it can lower.
It can get cranked. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think that the older comedians being less funny has more to do with their fame or, fame and being rich and blah, blah, blah? Or you do think that it's kind of like you just kind of become out of touch?
It feels like it's becoming out of touch. Like Ricky Gervais always talks about how he lives in a mansion and has lots of money and, but he's not out of touch. He stays in touch. I think a lot of it's through Twitter, but he also, he's still really funny. Or at least I find him extremely funny. And he's also about 60, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Every person is different and everybody changes in different ways. But I think relevancy is definitely connected to continuing to evolve, not just as a comedian or as a whatever, but just as a person, and continuing to be engaged with what's happening.
What else makes that easier is the internet. Like I really feel like comics of yore, as they aged up, they didn't really have any way to connect to what was going on in youth culture or any generation. Basically, they were just kind of stuck in their own time bubble, and they weren't really adding to their comedy. A whole lot of timely references. And if they didn't have a way to do that, then it made them seem outmoded and, not as funny. So I think, because that's one thing I noticed with Kids in the Hall is a lot of their references are very, about today. And so that's keeping them relevant. And I think that's, at least for me, it's a lot easier to keep on top of what's happening, just being, plugged in.
Yeah.
It does seem like in the past that was near impossible to be plugged in with what was kind of culturally relevant as opposed to now. It's interesting to me when you talk about comedians getting older, the ones who still seem interested in even doing it. You know, like I'm pretty sure Seinfeld still does stand up. It's just interesting to me the guys and girls who continue to want to go out there and because they could just sit by the pool all day. But I guess you just rot away if that ends up being the way that you live your life. I don't know. I don't have a pool.
I don't have a pool either.
Maybe that's the secret.
I think I mentioned about a month ago, I got free tickets, I think to the Tropicana in Atlantic City to see Yakov Smirnoff, who I guess he's out of Branson and he's in AC now. But he's not young. I forget exactly how old he is, but he's still out there grinding. And I think that's awesome. And I bet he's blended the classic persona with current events to make a very funny show. So even a guy who had a bit of a limited repertoire probably has a way to be in his 70s and still grinding away. It's cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for people like that who have longevity and are able to keep doing this, doing whatever they're doing like that far and that late in their lives. I think that's really interesting that, it's like that kind of a career, it could just, last for 10 years and then, you become irrelevant and you're done. I suppose that does happen to some people, and maybe they just all end up in Vegas. But I think longevity is, should be respected just because it's impressive if people just manage to stay around and do what they've been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No matter what the industry. And we lost so many great comedians in the past year with Norm Macdonald and then that trio, Norm Macdonald, Bob Saget, and Gilbert Gottfried. They were pretty tight. It seemed like those three guys. And then, just one after another, especially Norm, who, continued to do stand up and was just so funny and was considered really kind of like the comedian's comedian. It was interesting seeing the outpouring specifically around Norm when he died. I mean, plus it was such a shock because nobody knew that he was sick because he wouldn't tell anybody.
Oh, yeah.
So that element definitely played a big role in it. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, did you hear about that stand-up special that he recorded like right after he found out he was sick?
Yeah, I was just telling Matt about that earlier today. It should come out, I think, next week.
Yeah.
Or by the time this episode comes out, I think it might be up on Netflix.
Oh, cool.
I got to look at the day now. Norm Macdonald, what was it called?
I think it comes out like the 29th, something like that.
Starting May 30th. Yeah.
30th.
So that is this upcoming week. No, next week, isn't it? Next Monday. Does that sound right? Yeah, next Monday on Memorial Day. How about that? That's a good marker for it. On Memorial Day, memorialize Norman.
Yeah, that will definitely be good.
That's neat, though. It was really cool. I mean, that's something that you just don't expect to have. When somebody's gone, they tend to be gone. And so that was awesome that he threw that out there for future consumption.
Well, he seemed like, not to go on a whole Norm Macdonald rant, but he seemed like an incredibly thoughtful guy. And he knew that he was sick for a really long time. So it didn't surprise me at all that, I mean, the guy kept the fact that he was dying a secret for 10 years. It doesn't surprise me that he made a secret comedy special to be released like posthumously.
Yeah.
It's not a shocker, man. It's like, of course he did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I have a couple of individual questions because you guys, have your own shows. So Aaron, first up, Junkyard Joust. I just wanted to hear more about like how Junkyard Joust came to be, kind of what your inspiration was for making that channel and these videos and sort of, where you see it headed.
Okay, well, Junkyard Joust, I guess I try to refer to it as it's like a miniature action sports spectacle with Hot Wheels cars crashing into each other. And basically it was three things, I think. Number one was when I was a kid, I used to have the most amazing time running my cars down a track into each other, taking the ones that were sideways and upside down off, they were eliminated, and then running the remaining cars until, there was a winner. And I did that even sometimes like into my teenage years, just because it was so fun. I brought up my cars occasionally in my 20s and 30s just to, relive the glory years, because I still had them in a suitcase. And then the pandemic happened, and I saw this other YouTube channel called Jell's Marble Runs. Jella's Marble Runs.
It's I think it's silent. I think it's Yelly.
Is that
Yella, rather.
Yella. Okay, that makes sense.
But I love that channel. Yeah.
And he was doing, competitions, races with marbles. And I was like, wait a minute, I can just bring back that thing I did when I was a kid and turn it into a competition and get lots of slow-mo shots of the cars crashing and stuff like that. And, make it a sports event. And so those kind of things combined. And I just focused on spending my downtime during the pandemic doing that. And I want to do more of that. People are going to start sending me modified cars that they've, customized themselves. And we're going to do some special races with those. I created a new Apocalypse set. It's like a combination of Fallout and Mad Max. And a lot of, Apocalypse cars are going to do the Junkyard Joust, crashing into each other in slow motion. I think there's going to be a lot more breakage with those cars because they have fragile, cool looking pieces on them. So, but I find so much joy in doing that. I can't really explain it. It's just so fun for me when I'm recording it. I'll sometimes just exclaim out loud because I can't help myself. I just love watching it happen. I love the randomness of it. I love, like the unexpected things that happen with different cars. It's just totally ridiculous, and it makes me happy.
We talked, I forget the context of it, but about how much it really shows when somebody loves the thing that they're doing. Like, I know there's self-doubt that's like, oh, is anybody going to find my weird hobby interesting? Like, if you find your weird hobby interesting, then people generally find you interesting, regardless of the hobby, and I get similar vibes on the Junkyard Joust, because like, even just watching a video, somebody who wants to see the slow motion analysis of the little thing that just happened is like its own infectious interest. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be one of our tenets when we create our TCU Bible, because it's something that we've brought up and have had guests, discuss in the past, which is, whatever you're weird about, unless it's like illegal. That's off the list. If it's illegal, then you need to speak with the authorities. But if it's innocent enough, generally, you should share it. You should share the passion that you have for the weird thing, whether it's crashing Hot Wheels together or eating 70-year-old MREs from some Korean War.
I'm glad you brought up Yella's Marble Run too, because that's such a good example, because very few people care about marbles versus how many people, played with Hot Wheels cars and just think cars are cool anyway. Like, it's an odd thing to start to get into these marble races. Like, they're mesmerizing and they're fun, and you're pulling for different colored marbles for no good reason at all. And then 20, 30 minutes later, you've watched however many competitions, and like, you're worried about whether your marble team is going to make the playoffs. It's, the Marble Olympics or whatever. It's amazing, and nobody cared to start, but it's such a cool thing that he obviously cares about deeply, that all of a sudden, when the Marble Olympics come around, I have a friend that I went to college with, who without fail texts me the video drop of the Marble Olympics stuff. It's nuts. But yeah, you can literally take anything, and if you're really into it, you stand a pretty good chance at other people wanting to kind of go along with you on it.
Yeah, totally.
You mentioned some custom car makers. Have you seen kind of a community growing specifically built around Junkyard Joust?
Well, there was kind of a diecast racing community that already is in existence, and they mostly race. So mine's a little different, just because they're competing, but they're not racing. So it's not a traditional racing format. But yeah, a lot of those people do make custom cars, and they are excited about Junkyard Joust, maybe because it's something different. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who just want to send cars or make their own cars or whatever. So
yeah, that's really cool. I had written down at one point if you guys had weird collections, and I don't even know why I'm going to ask you because I know the answer to that already. Because Aaron, you have your cars, and Matt, you talk about your collections all the time.
I do.
With your vinyl records and various movie ephemera. So I wanted to ask you
vintage
about
flip top tobacco tins.
Vintage flip top tobacco. I know you were collecting beer signs at one point too.
Yep,
Do you still do that?
I
don't. The tobacco tins.
I don't actively collect beer signs anymore. I don't actively collect tobacco tins anymore. eBay was a hell of a thing for me. When I started cruising eBay, I just wanted everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I don't have an answer. I don't know why I started collecting these tobacco tins. They were really cool, and a lot of them were kind of reasonably priced, and you get into the whole auction aspect of it. And so I probably have about a dozen or so, maybe a few more, and I'm done with that now. I've put that part of my life behind me.
Have you though?
But it was good while it lasted. Oh, you have no idea.
what do you have the most of in your house that you've collected?
Probably records. Yeah, I have a few thousand records, I'm sure.
Oh, that's a lot. Their weight makes them hard to store. Do you have like steel shelving for that?
I have two big sturdy shelves. And then I have a couple of other ones. I have a cart in the living, because I have a turntable in the living room. So I have a little cart here with two crates on it where I have sort of like what I'm currently listening to. And then I rotate that stuff up or downstairs, depending on if I've listened to it already. So yeah, there's storage solutions that I've implemented.
At what point do you turn off the faucet for collecting tobacco tins or beer signs? When is that decision made?
When the vessel is full, you turn off the faucet.
I don't know, man. Like, I follow this guy. Oh, he's not on Instagram anymore. He's kind of a crazy guy. I actually think he's literally crazy. And at one point he just kind of disappeared, and I don't even know if he's still alive. So this is getting, better the more I talk about it out loud. Who knows?
We can always edit it out.
Yeah. Right? Well, no one will ever know who this is.
Not only is he dead, but he killed several people on the way out. And but I think that's about it.
Other than that, like, he was a really good follow on Instagram, and but this guy would obsessively move from collection to collection, and he would collect like any sort of like media thing that you could possibly imagine. I don't want to get into specific, and there's no way anybody knows who I'm talking about, but say he would collect like all of one thing to completion, then he would sell the thing because he had it all.
Oh, wow.
And he would use the money to then buy another entire insane collection of a thing. And then he was bored and it was done. So he would sell that thing and then just start over with some other damn thing. And it was so interesting to follow this guy on Instagram because it was this continual process of becoming obsessed with the thing, collecting it, getting the new one. I only have 4 more to go. Okay, have them all. And then, just would smash the mandala painting like those monks.
Yeah, that's exactly
what it
is, isn't it? That is exactly what it is, but it takes longer. And I know so many collectors who I'm networked with, and collectors of very different things too, so not even the same type of person. It varies tremendously, but I cannot think of a single one who gets to that point, devotes everything to it, gets everything, and then immediately jumps out. It's always like, I got this one done. Now I'm going to do something else. There's always a thing to collect and a thing to chase. That never ends.
Yeah.
But giving up like that and switching, like, I've just literally never come across that once in my life.
Yeah. He's a weird guy. I don't know where he is now, what he's collecting, if he's collecting anything. I don't friggin' know. It's so weird. But Matt, I want to ask you about Welcome to the Basement, because that's a show that you've been doing for a long time.
Yes.
I've been a big fan of it for a long time. It has that, like I mentioned earlier, that hangout vibe. It's you and your friend Craig Johnson, which, by the way, do you know that if you Google Welcome to the Basement, it shows the IMDb cast of you and Craig? However, it is not Craig. I mean, it is some Craig Johnson, but it is a different one, and it's really funny. Do you know about this?
Maybe. I'm not. I'll have to check that out. Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to screenshot it on my phone and drop it in the episode chat. So I'm sorry for people listening on audio. You'll just have to Google this yourself. Just Google Welcome to the Basement. And then if you're familiar with the show, laugh hysterically at what comes up. But yeah, for those unfamiliar, Matt mentioned the premise of it, the bucket list element to it, watching films you hadn't seen before that you'd missed. I love doing that too. We did an episode just last week about Top Gun, which is a movie that I had never seen before. So that's kind of like, I'm doing a similar thing in my own personal life, kind of on the weekends, just like, you know what? I've never seen Top Gun. How is that possible? Well, I'm going to go back and watch that. But you created an entire show around this premise, and it's going strong. So I would just love to hear, a little bit about what made you start the show, sort of how it's continued. I know that you have your own website for it that accepts donations and has its own supporters and everything. It seems like its own little micro universe.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to. God, it was so long ago. It's been going. We're in our 11th year right now of doing the show, and I wanted to do something with movies and watching movies and telling jokes, which everyone does with their friends. So that's something that everyone can relate to. And I also wanted it to be sincere. That sounds a little hoity-toity, but there's so many movie shows on the internet that are ironic and they're snarky and they're all about like, well, let's watch this stupid movie and talk about how stupid it is. And I didn't want to do that. I just thought there's enough of that. And I wanted to do a show where we could watch a terrible movie and try and figure out what's good about it. Or we could watch a beloved movie and, make silly jokes about it. And so that was really the main thing that appealed to it, is to have that kind of incongruity where, watching a classic movie and having fun with it, which you don't see that so much. So that's kind of where that idea came from. And we're still doing it.
How'd you rope Craig into it? He just seems kind of like a big movie buff.
He is. Yeah. He's a lot more kind of encyclopedic about it. And I thought what the original dynamic was going to be was that I would be the goof off jokester and Craig would be like the Roger Ebert. He'll be like the guy who knows things and is
straight guy,
is more analytical. And that right from the outset, that was not the case at all. We were both that thing. And so I think that makes the show even more interesting to do and to watch, because we both have those different aspects of our character to us. And both of those things come out.
Yeah. So Matt and I got into a little kerfuffle over Top Gun.
One of us almost died.
Because I watched it for the first time, like I just mentioned, and did not enjoy that experience. I found it laborious, to use a 10-cent word there. And Matt was furious over my reaction to this.
Well, it wasn't furious. It was like
film.
being No, it's like when Dad's not mad, he's disappointed in you.
Oh, okay. But just earlier today, while I was perusing, I went back because it's so funny, but because that Top Gun episode that you guys did is old at this point.
Yeah.
And I watched it when it first came out, but it was a freaking long time ago now. So I rewatched it and was validated. Thank you very much for validating my feelings about Top Gun being a boring movie. that people should
But-
not watch.
We need 2 more votes on this. Number 1, Aaron, do you think that Top Gun is a boring movie?
I have never seen it and avoided it like the plague.
Since when does knowing about something have to come before the opinion?
Yeah, exactly.
I can only assume it's boring. I've seen the trailers for the new one, and I'm like, okay, yep, that hits all the exact notes that I would expect this movie to hit. And I was just like, cool, I don't need to see that either. I just, it's just, I don't know. There's just something a little that's sort of like, machismo of all these pilots and stuff in the movie just kind of doesn't get, I don't get my jollies from that.
Well, that leaves one final hope for me in Team Top Gun. Does Baby Cookie like Top Gun?
Hang on, I'll text her.
Oh, good.
She's always available by text.
Cookie, do you like Top Gun?
I'm surprised that she paid her cell phone bill.
She's probably using somebody else's phone.
Oh, wow. She got back to me really fast. Her text says, "What dat?"
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Tell her it's a movie with Tom Cruise. See if she likes him or not.
Movie with Tom Cruise. Send. Okay, I'm getting the little dots.
She's just a baby, so it takes a little while.
She texted back.
Very tiny fingers.
She said, "Who dat?"
I could see this bit going on for an hour.
It feels like it already has.
Baby Cookie is a full-on toddler by the end.
Yeah, exactly. I have it on good authority, though, that the new Top Gun, I have heard from someone who didn't like the original, is excellent. So take that as you will. Apparently, it is really, really exciting and well shot and very well made. So I don't know. Maybe it will be worth giving the new one a spin.
I think I'll just get the rundown on Welcome to the Basement.
Dude, that was going to be my follow-up is if, I know, Matt, you don't do new movies. Have you considered that, and why or why not?
We've done new-ish movies. I think the most recent movie we watched on the show was 2017. One of the reasons is sometimes movies need a little space to sort of age, to be better for our show. Like there needs to be a little history to it. Because a lot of times, so much of the fun we have while we're watching is just because a movie is 40 years old, or it's 60 years old, or it's 80 years old. And so you see those little idiosyncrasies and, kind of dated, archaic things. That's good fodder for comedy. You don't get that so much in a movie that's a year old. But we definitely try and stay as contemporary sometimes as we can, and really run the gamut between, all the years of cinema.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a really compelling reason. I never would have considered that. I was just sitting here thinking, like, do you just not want to be swept up in, whatever the latest thing is, Morbius or whatever.
Right. Yeah. You're somebody else hoping that the algorithm just, picks you up and bangs. And then it's time for your 4 p.m. wiener flattening on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Right. Although Morbius is probably a good one in 4 years for you guys to do a video on. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's just such a meme.
If you want to get views on YouTube, though, all you got to do is just make a video that's titled "Why Morbius is one of the best movies ever," and then everyone will have to click on it and be like, "What? That's crazy. That's not true." And or you can do that with beloved movies too. You can just be like, "Why blank is actually a really bad movie," and it's just like I learned 10 years ago not to click on videos that have those titles because you're not going to get anything substantial out of them. They're always just
hot
that.
Takes.
Yep, they're just hot takes for the purpose of getting clicks.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how much of the internet has become that. It's not just YouTube. You see that with articles all the time. Like games journalism has just kind of turned into that, where it'll be like, they'll just make things up. like, here's why Elden Ring completely sucks.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Or like, here's why shoes are a mistake.
We need to talk about why shoes are a mistake.
I was today years old when I realized I'd been shoeing all wrong my whole life.
Exactly.
That sounds like the beginning of that video. It's perfect.
It'd be funny to make a channel that was just that. It was just going through making ridiculous clickbait. But I say that, and it's such a real thing that you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference between a parody and the actual content
Right.
in heavy air quotes, between the clickbait and the satire.
Just like the whole birds aren't real movement.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah, it seems to just pop up every now and then.
It's cool.
And I don't know why.
It's very funny. It's very well done.
There are always people who take it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And when that stops, then, then we lose all the appeal here. But as long as there's some boomer out there who's ready to believe that somebody thinks it's like the poop glove that I posted years ago on Twitter. As long as somebody was replying, telling me I was disgusting for having a washable poop glove instead of toilet paper, as long as those keep coming in, then the poop glove doesn't die.
And what's more important than that?
Well, literally nothing, because that is the most viewed tweet. And I've been on Twitter. Like, I joined Twitter when George W. Bush was president. It's been a long time. So yeah, I've been on Twitter like 14 years. And the thing that has been the most viewed, most liked, most retweeted is my tweet about the poop glove. So, worked on a lot of good educational content over the years, things that I hope, make a little dent on humanity. Nope.
Mm-mm.
No, absolutely not. Poop glove. Streaked in brown.
Sounds like its album title. Poop glove, streaked in brown.
The follow-up, more streaking. Streakier and browner.
Kevin, was there a live recording of beer and board games that you witnessed at VidCon?
Oh, a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved in at VidCon. Yeah. I brought you to one though, didn't I?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I sat in the corner like a creep.
Yeah.
I remember. I think both Hank and John Green were part of that. But yeah, I felt weird about that. Like I was at a strip club, but hiding in the corner.
Well, we were naked, so.
Yeah. I was gonna say, once we started taking our
Greg
clothes
Benson was there too. I feel like Greg Benson was part of that.
Definitely, yes, and probably making the funniest jokes. That man can spin a yarn. Well, guys, I really want to thank you for coming on. I've been such a big fan of you guys. I know we don't talk enough. I will say that. We joked earlier at the beginning of this podcast about this being just kind of like a check-in to make sure that all of us are still alive. Well, we are. That's confirmed. That's good. That's step one. But I love what you're doing. I love what you've done in the past, and kind of the stuff that you've continued to evolve and into, and the communities that you've created. I think it's all very cool. So if anybody hasn't checked out, if anybody has a nervous dog, let's just start there.
Right.
And you need some sort of solution because the neighbors are calling the cops. Well, beer and board games are there. There are a lot of episodes, We have
the perfect
long.
8 to 10 hour episode just for you while you're gone at work all day. Put it on, get your pet accustomed to our voices, and eventually you're all set.
Do not play Welcome to the Basement for your dogs. They will go apeshit. Your dogs will just go nuts.
It's because they can tell there's cats there somewhere in the background.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That is true. Yeah, let's just chew through your stairs. But But yeah, no, that's it. Thanks for coming on and doing what you do. And yeah, if anybody wants to support or check out their channels, check out Blame Society Films, check out the Welcome to the Basement show. You can also check out channels such as Game Society Pimps and Junkyard Joust. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of consistent content as well, which I think is rare, and people really like kind of having something like that plugged into their routine and their lives, and you guys really do provide that like level of consistent entertainment for people, and it's great. So everybody, go check that out, and support the shows if you can. If you want to support this podcast, just go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. We will be back next week with Tier Zoo. And until then, we will see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and we've been shocked by all the new support this year. The world's ending and I'm late for work. Gib Tom, Sid Poke, Demetrius, Atrocious Guff. You guys really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Triple Question Mark, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria, Marco Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jelksies, and Dan the Latch. And a tremendous shout out to our elite Baby Gang commanders, Linus and Trevstead, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. You really are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Discord Savior Latterman, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. And thanks to Baseweight for the use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.